53 MCAs for lunch at his Upper Hill office in Nairobi. The lunch was seen as part of his efforts to frustrate his planned impeachment following reports that some 89 MCAs had signed a petition to oust him. The embattled governor is facing corruption charges, as we all know. Now, the Standard has established that Sonko hosted the MCAs from both sides of the political divide, during which he sought to convince them to drop their bid to remove him. The source said the MCAs were locked in the compound to ensure they don't attend that, of course, session to ensure that there was no quorum. Now, I don't know if this is allowed. I mean, as far as politics is concerned, this seems it's pretty legal. You can do that if you're not literally forcing them not to attend. Like, he hasn't kidnapped them, but still it's a bit shady in my opinion.
Of course, it still brings in the issue of whether he is or not allowed to expend the duties of office. And all of this then comes right again back into contention. Yeah. And it seems to me that he's taking a very bullish way of doing this. And it's look, until you tell me really what the situation is, I am going to continue. And you see what he's doing here is a lot of lobbying on some kind of county filibustering. He's looking at a way to still keep himself very relevant. Until somebody tells him otherwise. And as far as he's concerned, he's doing his job. Yeah. Continues to.
There's what you call tradition and there's what you call accepted practice. It doesn't touch on the legality of those things at all. All right. For instance, is it legal for politicians to dish out money? One could argue it's bribery. One could argue it isn't.
It's tokenism.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. For the longest time, even from the days when we had councillors, it was normal before an important vote for them to be sequestered, meaning they're put aside somewhere quietly, then they appear on the day of the voting. This was to prevent people from having this opportunity to vacillate between one point or the other. Now, so if someone invites 50, MCAs for lunch, we had the UK-Kenya conference. The UK invited how many African countries? We had the Chinese conference. They invited how many African countries? So this idea of someone inviting people together to discuss and talk about a common...
What's the problem?
Yeah.
It is known practice.
Yeah.
It is something that people do. So really, we can discuss it in the light of what the governor is going through. You may impute that there are other reasons behind it, but it's just conjecture, really. We don't know, do we? We can take a wild guess, okay?
But they might have as well just been having lunch.
Yes, but being politicians and given the situation the governor is in, we would further speculate that it may not have been just lunch. And yes.
Of course, that comes into the ring of contention. Speaking of contentious matters, NHIF now denies that 6 billion shillings in reserve funds is missing. I guess it has made a miraculous re-entry. The fund recently announced austerity measures totaling 1.1 billion shillings. The National Health Insurance Fund officials announced early this week that they would adopt austerity measures to keep the insurer afloat. But insiders are wondering what happened to about 6 billion it held in reserve for turbulent times such as these, because it was made public that they had this kind of money in reserve should anything happen. A reliable source, we don't know, a member of the insurer's senior management who met with the nation estimated that more than 5 billion may have been used on printing the Afia Care cards used in the 4 counties where the UHC project was piloted. But the management has denied these allegations. The health ministry is also said to have defied counsel not to create a parallel system to NHIF, as UHC was sold as a health system strengthening initiative. According to the Finance Act, a project of that magnitude financially needed policy backing and cabinet approval, but neither took place. The insurer also has systems to register and print member cards, but the ministry introduced Afia Care cards that were part of the launch by President Uhuru Kenyatta on December 13, 2018 in Kisumu. As we speak, there are no cards yet, but this money was used for cards. Cards have not arrived. Calls and short text messages to the ministry's designated spokesman went unanswered. Interestingly, the 4 counties are yet to get the cards. At Nyeri Referral Hospital, clinicians did not get the cards on time and have had to log into the MTBA system to see whether a patient is registered. In Kisumu, some of the money did not reach the hospitals that have been implementing the program. Voila.
So if they didn't reach the hospital, where did they reach?
Somewhere in orbit.
Because they got stuck somewhere. So where?
Oscillating somewhere in the atmosphere.
And the most unfortunate thing about these types of stories is that it's the common Mwananchi that's
that continue to suffer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can imagine then showing up to hospital, and we've had these cases in Yeri, you've had these cases in Kisumu. Showing up to hospital, your details are not there because you do not have a card, and then of course they have to check into a system which in many times, according to this report, is faulty. So they can't find you, and you need medical attention. I laugh in pain because where are we going with this? It's neither here nor there. 6 billion shillings that were supposedly spent on something we don't know where they are. We don't know now where this product is. The questions are being asked. Nobody is answering. And then they're talking just 2 days ago about austerity measures. This money that was supposedly was supposed to be in reserves, having been used for some cards, which are mystery cards. I don't know, maybe you lick your finger, stick it in the air, and then that's how you get some kind of medical treatment. I don't know, but this is where we are.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate. And the report further says that the contributions have increased threefold, but the benefit payouts have also increased fivefold over the same period, meaning that nothing is done to level that, and it would affect the insurer. Now, look, there are people who really just need to get their malaria treated or their kid looked at. When we call it kizungu mingi, all this does not matter to them. They're just looking at the government that we voted in. What are they doing for us as far as universal healthcare is concerned, as far as making sure our lives are more comfortable? And when we talk about these things, and they seem a little too removed from the common Mwananchi, but honestly, sometimes it just boils down to someone who's trying to get their broken leg treated. Yeah, and what would be the thing that is standing behind them and never ever being able to walk again would be these little things that we are seeing here that are put in small numbers that might not make much sense.
Exactly.
From face value.
This is quite unfortunate because I think we're going to see this reoccur over and over again, especially when it comes to what NHIF is dealing with and what needs to be done. Because again, if we're looking at a vital driver of development, health is one of them. The UHC having been seen as one thing that must succeed in line with the president's Big Four agenda for the country, of course, not just for his legacy, but for the country. And if NHIF, as seen as the agency driver of UHC, cannot get its act together for something that is vital, then, folks, we have a problem. We do. And it can't be who said, who didn't say, who's giving information, who's not. Austerity measures here or not. I mean, this has got to be something that is extremely clear and quite transparent.
And if you're looking for something that paints a picture about the quality of healthcare that is afforded to the common Mwananchi in the country, you need to take a look at page 13 of the Standard. A very disturbing picture right there. A very sad story about a man who's has tried to get treatment to no success. And obviously the state in which his legs are just paints a clearer picture at where we are, because the most he was told was that doctors diagnosed him with the condition, but after conducting tests, nothing was discovered. Medicine was prescribed, and he was told to stay close so that they can keep a closer eye to his leg.
One of the things that some of our ministries may not understand is that they may find themselves going against the Constitution in the most blatant way possible.
Right.
If you look at, say, the fundamental rights that we have, rights that you cannot sort of like twist around and you cannot add it to, meaning they're fundamental and they stay that way.
Yeah.
Cruelty, torture. Now, look at what's happening to people who cannot get their children to school.
Right.
The anguish that you bring to a parent and to the student who cannot access this, because one, it wasn't planned for. We've had natural calamities that have prevented them from doing so. You have an economy that cannot afford people an opportunity to get a job. So if you combine these things and they land on one individual's lap, would you not say that you are actually abrogating this individual's very fundamental rights?
Right.
Because you've denied him access to some of these things that he should be enjoying as a citizen of this country.
Yes.
If someone cannot access healthcare, if someone cannot access education, whether it is because the TAC has decided to transfer teachers or the teachers aren't enough, whatever the case is, so long as that fundamental right has been denied to this person, you will find yourself in direct violation of the Constitution.
Of the Constitution. It's unfortunate because I don't think that is taken into consideration very many times, or even at all. People talking about, what you do or don't do and how it is in direct contravention to the Constitution, the very law under which, everybody in this country is governed. And I believe that if we actually look at it like that, it's possible that we would have more and more, if not people then living according to the law, or at the very least then people being able to point out when we've gone off course. But I think that is the be all and end all of everything, to say, look, it is against this Constitution. This is the backdrop of how we operate as a government, as a people, as civil society, as whatever. If that is not taken into consideration, then it's clear why we have a lot of problems that we do.
Yeah.
One of the things that poverty does for you, or does to you, it actually denies you dignity.
True.
And that's a fundamental right. The right to dignity, to human dignity.
Yes.
How do you actually live on this planet, in this country, with people around you, when it is clear that through no fault of your own, you cannot even take care of yourself? You've been stripped of any dignity you may have, absolutely and completely.
And you've done everything in your power. And when you look at this Frederick Kalama's face, honestly, it just paints a picture of that kind of
despair.
Yeah, frustration and despair. And he has said in this story, I sold my cows to cater for my hospital bills, and now my wife has to do all kinds of menial jobs in the neighborhood to put food on the table. It's not even to get treatment.
It's not even to treat him.
Just food.
Because obviously he's not able to work.
Yeah, and they're trying to treat a fungal infection.
And yet, if indeed our hospitals were functioning as they should, all right? Forget these lofty ideas that we keep talking about, UHC and what have you. People have been going to hospital and accessing care long before these ideas came into being.
Yes.
Now, if you look at the confusion that already exists, you throw in a very good idea like UHC into it, what do you think you're going to get? A solution. More confusion.
More confusion.
Yes, because right now, if the very bedrock on which we're supposed to actually base the UHC was the NHIF system, and we know how topsy-turvy this one is turning out to be.
Yeah.
So, where exactly would someone like Mr. Kalama get it? And he isn't the only one.
No.
There are people who have some very basic conditions that a normal healthcare should take care of. But we can't.
But we can't. We're not able to do that. No.